just going to be 4-betting the kings and praying to the poker gods that the big blind just rips it. What on earth?
Subscribe now to a front row seat for expert hand analysis and world-class cash game strategy.
Calling the Jack-9 of diamonds, hoping the white belt comes along. Flopping a straight, that's pretty good. Triple Broadway, two-tone. Villain starts out with about 40% pot. I think I'm just going to call. Don't have a ton of raises that don't 3-bet pre, like ace-x of clubs. So, king, queen, 3-bets pre, kings, queens, tens. Don't have a ton of good hands here to check raise with. Don't have a ton of bad hands to check raise with. So, on the turn, villain bets 70 into 87. I think that I'm just going to call again. And the king is not great. Now we don't get to raise the river if villain does bet. They have king, queen. They have kings. They have queens. They have tens. They have ace, jack. So would have just played the river for one more bet. If villain did bet, I think maybe I just maybe I check raise and then fold to bet 3-bet if the board doesn't pair. Queen 10 off. Blind versus blind. It's going to start by calling. Not the greatest of flops, but not the worst. Low, low, low. Villain starts out with a third. Gonna be peeling with my overcards. Turn is a 4. I think the 4 is generally better for us than the villain. So, yeah, they bet a third. I also think that they should be betting bigger when they do have a 4. So, just gonna go a little exploitative. Did not work out. Somehow they have a 4, so well played, villain. Sevens, blind versus my friend with 600 big blinds. Gonna be a 3-bet from the big blind facing small blind. If the small blind 4-bets, will be calling. 10-4 deuce. Not the worst of flops. Gonna start out by betting a quarter and calling a check raise. If villain does call the flop, probably gonna be checking behind some. Villain goes ahead and puts in the check raise to a small amount, so we call. Turns a 3. It connects ace 5 and 5-6, which would be their two primary draws. Although I suspect villain could have a bunch of, shenanigan-y type hands. So calling under half pot size bet. Just going to check back on the king. Probably prefer a bet on the river than villain checking. When villain checks, yeah, it's probably going to be some like top pair weak kicker like they had. King jack of spades, easy button open. Easy call, facing big blind 3-bet. Top pair is nice. Villain checking is nice. So we could bet, we could check. My preference right now is going to be to check behind, but I could definitely see betting the flop. Facing flop check. Turn 8 doesn't really change anything. Villain bets a little bit over half pot. 10 of diamonds shouldn't change anything either because they bet a lot of their flush draws on the flop. So maybe they did a mergey bet on the turn with 10s, but I don't expect to see this size. So I think if anything here, I could try to raise for value. What bluffs might I have? Maybe ace 4, maybe ace tray, maybe a hand like 6s or 7s that gets demoted on the 10. I think might be reasonable raises, but yeah, just call. Villain has the squadouche. 10s in the big blind. Gonna start out with a squeeze, facing button open, small blind flat. The jackpot is getting... Not that. What on earth? 44 big blinds. That's massive. We have a little bit of depth. All the options seem reasonable. I really don't know what to make of this. I haven't seen this villain do anything like this. Haven't seen proclivity for them to like just get the money in super light. Tens, I don't know if they want to play for 130 bigs here. I'm gonna fold, but I'm not happy with it. Ace king off, and the big blind definitely gonna be squeezing this. Getting a back jam by 6 seat would be nice, but alas. Queen 6 deuce, two-tone, not a board that I'm going to be c-betting at a super high frequency. I believe I'm checking my king queens, checking my ace queens, checking my aces, checking my kings. 6 pairing on the turn doesn't really do very much for me. I do think some of those hands that I mentioned on the flop would start betting the turn, so maybe betting with ace king is okay. Rivering top pair, top kicker. Checking once again. Okay, so I think that if villain does have an ace, if either one of them does, they will place a bet anyway. I'm almost certainly going to be playing for stacks if, say, the 4 seed bets a third. Well, looks like I'm not playing for any more money. King jack off, going to be in open. Villain jams. So some context here. Assuming that the blinds fold, we're going to be calling all in. The 2 seed just lost with kings versus aces, and their stack dwindled from like 1,000 big blinds down to $225. So I suspect that jam is coming at a very, very, very high clip. Queen, please. 10. No. Kings is a pretty good hand. Big blind squeeze is pretty nice. I don't think I'm going to flat here with the villain behind, so just going to be 4-betting the kings and praying to the poker gods that the big blind just rips it. Prayer answered. Oh, let's hold. Very nice. King queen off on the button. Facing a 3-bet, going to be a call. Top pair, pretty nice. For the theme of today, I think we could better check with our top pair. King high board. Checking behind, going to be the path that we take. 9 on the turn. So I think villain has hands like queen jacks, 10s. They can have 9x, maybe like 8s. 7-8, those types of hands. I don't think they're going to play for 2 streets, so just going to check behind and place a really big bet facing a check. Now facing a third on the river, I believe that our hand just wants to play for more money, so we're going to raise for value. Try to target, 8, 9, 9, 10, queen jacks, 10s that might be thin value betting. Maybe even a hand like king jack or king 10 that can thin value bet the river. I think that's a reasonable targeting range. I don't think they have a ton of flushes or sets. Flushes would be the most likely hand that might check, like an 8, 9, 9, 10 of diamonds type hand, but yeah, I think king queen is just certainly good enough to raise the river. King 10 of diamonds, certainly going to be openable from the cutoff. Assuming the big blind folds, king 10 of diamonds is going to be chunked into our 4-betting range, so no whammies. Best of luck us. 8 tray. So, we have a bunch of over pairs. We have a bunch of, backdoor flush draws. I think this is just a board. Gonna start out by betting a quarter. 7 of hearts doesn't change anything. I believe I'm just gonna bet a quarter again. I think They can have some like ace, queen, ace, jack, ace, 10 of hearts, queen, jack of hearts, jack, 10 of hearts potentially. On the board, running out trips. King 10 high is one of my very worst hands, so just going to stick it in. I don't think I jam ace king on the river because ace king beats enough hands to jam. So yeah, king 10, just one of my worst hands, so got to bluff with something. E6 of diamonds. Let's hope it doesn't get 3 bets. There we go. We shall peel. Ace king 8. It's the best of times, the worst of times. Villain has ace king, aces, kings, and 8s, as well as, you know, ace 8 and king 8 suited. So yeah, not a board where we're jumping for joy, but we do have top pair, so that's worth something. The queen on the turn is probably a good turn card for us because we have jack 10 off in our range. So now I expect villain to check. If villain were to... Yeah, okay, so if villain were to bet the turn, then I think we just fold our a6, honestly. And I don't really... Should have thought about my decision to better check the river a little bit more in depth there. I think betting is probably superior, turning king jack, king 10, queen jack, queen 10, those type of hands. Little limp pot action here with the 4-5 off. Pretty good flop. We have a draw to the nuts, which is always a good thing. So villain bets 1 big blind after, you know, the white belt who limps bets 1 big blind. Pretty easy call. I think they could be doing this with just a very, very, very wide range of hands. Considering we have 5 high on the turn, I think we need to bet to try to fold out just some of the random some of the random bets. Now we have a straight. I don't think they have king queen, so we're definitely happy. Oh man, we get the pot donk. We're definitely happy playing for all the money here, so I don't think there's any other sizing option other than all in, and just hope they have a hand like 2 pair that they pay off with. Oh god, they're gonna disconnect. That's... Oh. Saved. That was very close. Ace queen off. Gonna start out by Razy Daisy from the cutoff. Big blind calls. Okay. So gonna start out by betting a quarter and calling a check raise, apparently. Did not expect to get raised. I expect to bet a quarter. Villain to call and then just bluff catch rivers, but they went ahead and put in another bet on the flop and checked it down. So it worked out, just not according to plan. Ace queen off on the button. Always good for some big blinds. 3-bet from the small blind. I think this is a hand that we could 4-bet. We could flat. I think I'm going to go for the flatting option here. King 8-4. So blocking ace king, blocking aces, blocking king queen, facing a third-ish. We're just gonna call. 8 pairing is better for us than villain, considering, you know, we have the 7-8 suiteds, 8-9 suiteds. We bet those on the turn. King pairing, probably better for villain. It counterfeits our small pocket pairs. Biggest question is, like, how thinly are they value betting here, right? Like, they need to value bet, like, queens, jacks, 10s, aces. I have a suspicion that they recognize I'm going to check back a lot of my king X. If, you know, there's one thing from this P&E that we've seen, I'm checking back a lot of my king X on the flop. So I'm a little bit suspicious here that villain would then value bet, and suspect villain may have hand like queen jack, queen 10, jack 10. Don't think they bet ace high. I don't think there's a reason to. 6s works too. So 6s gets counterfeit. Let's go.
What was your key takeaway from today's episode? Drop a comment down below and let us know.
This is Chasing Poker Greatness with your host, Brad Wilson. Coach Brad approved. Are you a lone wolf searching for the ultimate pack? The CPG Wolf program is a close-knit brotherhood hell-bent on one thing only: chasing poker greatness. Powered by bleeding-edge wolf strats and led by Coach Brad and his lieutenants, CPG Wolves are systematically prepared for almost any spot they'll encounter on the green felt. If you want to plug into an elite team and have a step-by-step game plan to realize your full poker potential, you can apply at cpgwolves.com. Space is limited, and the pack is only as strong as its weakest member. So only the hungriest, grittiest, and most driven will be accepted into the program. Applications are open at cpgwolves.com.